So Mitt Romney still has reservations.
Which is, this remains deeply troubling, and we'll see where it leads, but the first reaction is troubling.
Well, Mitt, let me just say on behalf of everyone from the 2012 election cycle that tried to support you, even though we really didn't want you as our candidate, but you had so manipulated the process that you took out the people that we really did want and somehow ingratiated yourself into the nomination, full well knowing you are not what we wanted, but we held our nose, we voted for you, and you still couldn't pull it off despite all of the problems that Barack Obama had. We have more than reservations about you. You are what we always thought you to be, a lying traitor. You're a traitor to the party, you're a traitor to ideals. You are what you have always been, a manipulator of other people's bad fortune to your own personal profit. That's how you became a millionaire. Bain Capital was nothing more than a corporate rating entity that came into businesses that were in trouble, hoping to get a financial lifeline that they'd be able to turn things around. And no, like the character played by Richard Gere in Pretty Woman, you simply gutted those corporations and pocketed the money. Here and there for fun, you tried to turn something around like Sports Authority, which eventually tanked and went bankrupt. And of course, everybody pats you on the back for what you did for the Olympics. Yeah, okay. But what you're really miffed about is that Donald Trump did what you never could accomplish. He got elected to become the president of the United States, and his economic policies have worked, and that absolutely makes you and the Wall Street gang of the never-Trumpers just seethe and writhe that you couldn't get a middle-of-the-road, which is code for globalist, a middle-of-the-road, get along with everybody kind of quasi-Democrat dressed in Republican drag elected. And along comes a throwback to Ronald Reagan and Barry Goldwater, an ardent, idealistic conservative that truly does believe in America first. He crossed the finish line. He got elected. The American people rallied to him. And you guys are just so incensed that he still maintains his base and popularity and he's getting things done that, well, there could be something to this impeachment inquiry after all. He shouldn't have talked to the president of Ukraine like that.
The president of the United States asks or presses the leader of a foreign country to carry out an investigation of a political nature. That's troubling, and I feel that. And so
what's the real motivation here, Mitt? Is it the fact that your number one advisor, Joseph Coffer Black, ex-CIA. I'll have more to say about that in a minute. Also happens to be on the board of Burisma. You know, Burisma, that same board that Hunter Biden was on. He received $50,000 a month from Ukraine on a corrupt board in a country where the average wage is about $300 to $400 a month American money. And yet, here is Hunter Biden, who has absolutely no training or expertise in this field, and he sits on a board, receives a salary of $50,000 while his father was vice president. Were they buying influence? Were they buying favor? I mean, after all, Biden has all but admitted he used his position as the vice president to leverage the Ukrainian government to fire the prosecutor that was investigating the corporation of which his son and Mitt, apparently your number one advisor, were members of.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
Biden does have a problem here, by the way. I mean, I have to say, $50,000 a month for Hunter Biden, clearly to be selling influence, because otherwise no one would ever pay him that kind of money for a company that, frankly, was pretty corrupt and has been before and has been since under
And is that Joe Biden's fault or problem?
No, but it's hard to imagine Joe Biden wasn't aware of it. And I think that I expect that President Obama, if he had known about the reality of this situation, would have probably told Biden, get rid of this.
And you don't have a problem with the vice president using his muscle like that? The fact that the vice president flew his son over to the Ukraine on Air Force Two to conduct personal business, and then their $1.5 billion shakedown of China, and you talk about President Trump. But see, what we're seeing now is this is not only an attempt by the globalist, by the deep state, by simply the intel community to continue to try to take down Donald Trump. The coup failed, so now we got to impeach him. And now we've got to go with a false narrative, disinformation. This is what the CIA thrives on. It's exactly why Harry Truman regretted ever allowing the CIA to be formed under his watch. The CIA operates in black ops, phony disinformation. It's kind of like how foreign countries had the headlines of the JFK assassination before John Kennedy had ever been shot. Who has the muscle, the ability, and the influence to pull something like that off? Who is it that has the ability for us to read a transcript, hear firsthand, even from the president of Ukraine, that he felt no pressure, there was no quid pro quo, none. Trump didn't put any strings attached. He simply asked him to look into corruption within the country. That was it. But yet we have a media, we have Democrats, and we even have fake Democrats dressed in Republican drag like Witness Protection Romney, trying to convince us that no, there really is an implied quid pro quo here. There really is a president overstepping his bounds and authority and asking the leader of a foreign entity to do dirt on political opposition. That's not what's contained in that report. That's not what's in the transcript. The so-called whistleblower is somebody who got this information third or fourth hand, and yet we're being told that what we're seeing is not really what we're seeing. Who pulls stuff off like that? The CIA. Hey, Mitt, who was your number one advisor? Oh, someone from the CIA who advised you, isn't this interesting, on your foreign policy. You know, got to protect that industrial military establishment, right? Because after all, war and proxy wars make money. And that is the entrenchment of the deep state and the globalist one world agenda. And that's what Mitt Romney is in up to his eyeballs, along with the Bush family, along with the Clinton family. That's what this is all about. Protecting not simply the establishment, not simply the oligarch, protecting this globalization, this, forgive me for getting theological, antichrist one world order. And Mitt Romney is in this up to his eyeballs. So that's why, even though we are seeing the evidence before our eyes that, wait a minute, the real corruption here is Joe Biden. Yet we're being told by the media, no, that's fake. That's fake. The vice president has been vindicated on this.
I think this is like slow motion watching democracy die. We've been watching it throughout this Trump presidency, and I think what we've seen in the last couple days is absolutely horrifying, and the fact that there are Republicans that are defending it is what makes it even more horrifying. Look, regardless of what we know about the whistleblower or don't, Donald Trump has already admitted to doing this. We have at least a partial transcript of a call that completely confirms that this is in fact what he did. He is also blatantly lying about Joe Biden. I mean, the entire reason that he even is asking for this never happened.
If this was Donald Jr. or Eric Trump, would these media pundits be saying, oh, you know, it's just a matter of weird timing that the President Trump withheld money to Ukraine while his sons were under Ukrainian investigation. There's no there. There's no crime there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? If the media had had any idea or any inkling that maybe Donald Jr. or Eric Trump had ever even visited the Ukraine and bought a cheeseburger at a McDonald's outlet there would be absolute hell to pay, and it'd be a conspiracy. And obviously the president was using his influence and muscling Ukraine so that Eric or Donald Jr. could make a lot of money. But instead, what we get is the new talking point now that this entire inquiry is beginning to blow up because it's really making Biden look bad. The quid pro quo, it's implied, because after all, Trump is like a mafia boss.
I mean, to people who see this kind of stuff in movies, you see mob bosses doing it.
Anyone who watches mob movies knows that's not how it happens.
This strikes me as a call that's really more appropriate to be reading a transcript of from a mob wiretap.
This is how a mafia boss talks.
We always have people talking about how Donald Trump speaks like a mobster.
I don't like these mafia-like tactics to try to intimidate witnesses.
We see this from mob bosses. We do not see this from presidents.
What those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader.
He gets the mob talk.
Donald Trump sought to run U.S. foreign policy the way Tony Soprano ran his crime family.
Shaking people down is what he does. He doesn't know how to do anything else. He thinks he's Tony Soprano.
Again, because I actually am a pastor and have a degree in theology and everything, there is a verse of Scripture which says, "The curse causeless shall not come." It's a verse that basically means that when you're being falsely accused, when there is something being thrown at you that's through no fault of your own, and you are being set up, that God has a way of taking that curse and spinning it around and putting it back on the person that tried to deal it to you. So as the Democrats and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media get their ducks in a row that, okay, this inquiry is blowing up and it's making Joe Biden look bad, and the American people don't really seem to be all that interested in the president asking another president, hey, you want to look into corruption in your country? But they are really interested in why was Joe Biden bragging about withholding money and his kid was making all kinds of money over there because he was being investigated? Wait, whoa, what's that about? So now we get the new talking points, mafia. Every talking head, what, they just randomly came up with this? Of course not. Again, they got their official marching orders from George Soros. That's right. He's connected to Burisma too. Shazam, Batman. Isn't that interesting? Soros connected to Burisma. Hunter Biden connected to Burisma. Mitt Romney connected to Burisma. And I guarantee you, somewhere in there, the Clintons are connected too. They're all, I've told you before, this isn't about left versus right. It's about right versus wrong. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. It's about them versus us. Don't make any mistake that the actual establishment Republicans and the actual establishment Democrats, they are simply different sides of the same coin. It has been for decades now a dog and pony show. They come out, they spar with each other on cable news shows, and then as soon as the camera goes off, these guys laugh and they go to the same cocktail parties and they hang out together because they're all about protecting that globalist one world agenda, period. And Trump is public enemy number one, just like John F. Kennedy was public enemy number one, just like the failed attempted takeout of Ronald Reagan. These guys are totally committed to America first and what works for us, and that makes them the enemy of the globalist agenda. But again, as they tried to get this narrative running of the mob boss behavior, well, Adam Schiff for brains thought he would take it to a new level, And he would, as he said, just doing a parody of how the Trump conversation with the president of Ukraine actually went.
We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
He was so bad at this that even Democrats cringed. So what are you doing? First of all, why would you do parody or make a mockery? You're doing a inquiry into impeaching the President of the United States. I realized Nancy Pelosi the other day, in trying to keep her dentures from falling out and her Botox just, naturally pulls her face this way, smiling the whole time she's talking about how serious it is and we shouldn't take lightly, impeaching a president, overthrowing the will of the American people, but we have to do it because we take our responsibility serious. It didn't look good, Adam. You doing parody during an impeachment inquiry, and then you couldn't pull it off to where even Democrats are like, wait a minute, whoa. This is so serious. Don't do parody. Don't lie. Deal with what's there. And so this is what I mean. The curse causeless shall not come. What Adam Schiff did there was he blew up the whole implying there was quid pro quo. The whole, there's no there, but we're going to make a there. Thank you, Adam Schiff. You did us a great favor. And again, these Democrats, as they're trying to take this so seriously, taking out this president because you don't want to thwart the will of the American people. Yeah, what was it they were saying back in 1998?
They are driven by hatred. They hate Bill and Hillary Clinton so much they will stop at nothing to bring him down.
Because we are here today because the Republicans in the House are paralyzed with hatred of President Clinton, and until the Republicans free themselves of this hatred, our country will suffer.
And one of the reasons we all feel so angry about what they are doing is that they are ripping from us, they are ripping asunder our votes. They are telling us that our votes don't count. There must never be a narrowly voted impeachment or an impeachment supported by one of our major political parties and opposed by the other.
Bill Clinton acted deplorably in his personal behavior. But what the American people are saying loudly and clearly is let's get on with the business.
This is their president we are talking about. And we in Congress had better be very careful before we upset their decision and make darn sure that our decision to impeach him was based upon principle and not politics.
Wow, same cast of characters. Jerry the Nads Nadler, Nancy Botox Pelosi, Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, Joe Sniffin Biden, Maxine Mad Max Waters. How long have these people been in Washington? Isn't it really time to get rid of them? Funny, though, Joe Biden was so concerned that impeaching President Clinton would be thwarting the will of the American people. But he's got no problem with impeaching Donald Trump because they're protecting the globalist agenda. My, oh my. And here's one. The Wall Street Journal, which is not exactly Trump-friendly. In fact, that's home to the Never-Trumpers. Well, now that Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren has climbed to the top of the totem poles, the polls, and is now considered the #1 Democratic candidate for the nomination, top Democratic donors throwing out a dog whistle saying to the DNC, we will not financially support the DNC if Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren becomes the nominee. We will back Trump. That's a little problematic because the Wall Street Journal hates Trump. They want Joe Biden. And I'm telling you, it's going to be Joe Biden. Well, that's it for this rant on a Friday. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Continue to share this channel, and please make sure that you smack the bell for my next rant.